Hello students, today we will start chapter 11, Thermal Properties of Matter. In this chapter, as you know, we all have common sense notion of heat and temperature. Temperature is a measure of hotness of a body. A kettle with boiling water is hotter than a box containing ice. In physics, we need to define the notion of heat, temperature, etc. More carefully, in this chapter, you will learn what heat is and how it is measured, and study the various processes by which heat flows from one body to another. Along the way, you will find out why blacksmith heat the iron ring before fitting on the rim of a wooden wheel of a bullock cart, and why the wind at beach often reverses direction after the sun goes down. You will also learn what happens when water boils or freezes and its temperature does not change during this process. These processes, even though a great deal of heat is flowing into or out of it. So first of all, we'll see the heat and temperature. We'll define heat and temperature. Heat, you know very well, the heat is a form of energy and it transferred between two or more system or a system and its surrounding by virtue of temperature difference. The SI unit of heat energy is joule and the practical unit of heat energy is calorie, where 1 calorie is equal to 4.186 joule, or you can say 4.2 joule approximately. And if we define 1 calorie, so 1 calorie is defined as the amount of heat energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water through 1 degree Celsius. The Joule, a scientist, he found that when mechanical energy or the mechanical work is converted into heat, the ratio of work done to the amount of heat produced is always constant, and it is represented by J. That means J is equal to W upon Q. That W is the work done and the Q is represented the heat produced. Here J is called mechanical equivalent of heat, which is equal to 4.186 joule per calorie or 4.2 joule per calorie. Now we will see temperature. Temperature of a body is degree of hotness or coldness of body. Heat flows from hotter to colder body till the temperature of two bodies become equal, and this state is called thermal equilibrium. You know very well the temperature is what? The degree of hotness or coldness, because when heat is flowing from hotter body to colder body, so that time the heat transformation can take place until unless the two bodies will come in the same temperature. So that state is called the thermal equilibrium, and the SI unit of temperature is Kelvin. Commonly we are using, or means the used unit is the degree Celsius. Now we'll define how we'll measure the temperature. What are the devices by which we will measure the temperature and what are the skills that we will see now. So measurement of temperature, the things which is required to measure the temperature, that is a device. So a measure of temperature is obtained using thermometer. Thermometer is calibrated so that a numerical value can be assigned to a given temperature, and the two fixed reference point, that is the ice point, or you can say the freezing point, second one is the steam point, or you can say the boiling point, are needed to calibrate it. Now, to understand the measurement of temperature, or the different scales of temperature, or the concept of absolute temperature, we need to know about the ideal gas equation and the absolute temperature here. So for that, certain laws we have to understand. So first of all, we'll see the Boyle's law. Boyle's law is at constant temperature, the pressure of given mass of gas varies inversely with volume. That means, according to the Boyle's law, if the temperature is constant, the relation between the pressure and the volume is in inverse proportion. So P is directly proportional to 1 upon V, or you can say the PV is equal to constant, and this is equation 1. That means if we have different sets of pressure and volume like P1 V1, means the P1 and corresponding volume is V1. If pressure is P2, corresponding volume is V2, or the pressure is P3, corresponding volume is V3. So in such situation, P1 V1 equal to P2 V2 equal to P3 V3 according to Boyle's law. Next is the Charles law. According to Charles law, for a fixed pressure, the volume of gas is proportional to absolute temperature, and that means the volume of gas, which is V, is directly proportional to T, capital T. This is the absolute temperature. That means V upon D is equal to constant, and you can say this equation as second equation. Now we will see if we have the volume V1 and corresponding temperature, absolute temperature is T1. Volume V2, the temperature is T2. At volume V3, the temperature is T3. So V1 upon T1 is equal to V2 upon T2 is equal to V3 upon T3 according to Charles' law. And now you will see from equation 1 and 2. The equation 1 which we have obtained here, that is P is inversely proportional of V, and the equation 2 which we have obtained here, that is V is directly proportional to T. So if we combine these two equations, we'll get here what? That is P is also directly proportional to T. That means from equation 1 and 2, we can conclude that P is directly proportional to T, and after combining this, we'll get here the PV is directly proportional to T. So as we remove this proportional sign, we'll keep a constant here, that is PV is equal to mu RT, where the mu is the number of moles present in the gas and R is the gas constant. The value of gas constant is 8.31 joule per mole per Kelvin. Since PV is equal to constant according to Boyle's law, and V upon T is also a constant according to Charles' law for given quantity of gas, then PV upon T must be constant, and that can be written as the PV upon T, that is equal to mu R, or PV is equal to mu RT. This relationship is known as ideal gas law, and it can be written in a more general form that applies not just to a given quantity of single gas but to any quantity of any dilute gas, and is known as ideal gas equation, that is PV is equal to mu RT. Now, as we have already seen, the pressure and volume are directly proportional to temperature. That means here you will find PV is directly proportional to T, and this relationship allows a gas to be used to measure temperature in a constant volume gas thermometer. Now, holding the volume of gas constant, it gives P is directly proportional to T. Thus, with the constant volume, when the volume is constant, the gas thermometer temperature is read in terms of pressure. Then a plot of pressure versus temperature. You can see here a plot of pressure versus temperature gives a straight line because P is directly proportional to T for a given volume, for a constant volume. So you will see here the pressure and the temperature we have taken here, the temperature in x-axis and the pressure in y-axis. So this graph you will find a straight line for a gas A, gas B and gas C. The straight line will obtain because both are in direct proportion, the pressure and temperature are in direct proportion. Now the variation of P and T graph you will see here for three different gases, and when this graph is extra plotted means in this direction you can see in the negative x-axis direction, or this the quadrant that negative x means the second quadrant, you can say simply in this direction. If it is extra plotted, it meets the temperature axis at minus 273 degree minus 273.15 degree Celsius, or approximately you can say minus 273 degree Celsius. So the pressure P should reduce to 0. Here you will find at this temperature minus 273 degrees Celsius, the pressure should reduce to 0 at this temperature, and it is called the absolute zero. This is called absolute zero. This is the foundation of absolute scale temperature or Kelvin scale. Now we'll see the comparison of different scales of thermometer. We have chosen here the Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale and the Kelvin scale. Here, as we required the two reference point, freezing point and the boiling point, so for the Celsius scale you will see here the absolute zero is mentioned, that is at minus 273 degrees Celsius, as we have taken previously by the graph when we extra plotted the pressure temperature graph at constant volume. Now you will see the freezing point is 0 degrees Celsius, the boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. In between there are 100 equal divisions, that means between the freezing point and the boiling point you will find 100 equal divisions. Now we'll see the Fahrenheit scale, in which the absolute zero you will find at minus 459.30 degree Fahrenheit, and the freezing point is at 32 degree Fahrenheit. The boiling point is 212 degree Fahrenheit. Obviously you will find here between the freezing point and the boiling point there are 180 equal divisions, that means it is 180 divisions are graduated between the 32 degree Fahrenheit and 212 degree Fahrenheit between the freezing point and the boiling point here. Now in case of Kelvin scale, the absolute zero is at 0 Kelvin, the freezing point is 273 Kelvin and the boiling point is 373 Kelvin. In between the freezing point and the boiling point you will find here also 100 equal divisions or 100 graduations are there. Now if we compare it, if we write the temperature at degree Celsius, then the temperature at degree Celsius minus the freezing point divided by the division between the freezing point and the boiling point. So this is Tc minus 0 degree Celsius upon 100 must be equal to the temperature at Fahrenheit minus the freezing point, that is 32 degree Fahrenheit, upon the graduations between the freezing point and the boiling point. Here you will see the temperature at Kelvin minus 273 Kelvin, that is the freezing point, divided by the graduations between the freezing point and the boiling point, that is 100. So here you will find this way we can equate it, and To find out the relation between the degree Celsius and Fahrenheit, we'll take the this two relation, that is Tc minus 0 degree Celsius upon 100 equal to Tf minus 32 degree Fahrenheit upon 180. So we'll reach to this point, that is the temperature. The temperature at degree Celsius means you can say simply T at degree Celsius upon 100 must be equal to degree Fahrenheit minus 32 upon 180. More we will simplify it. So temperature at degree Celsius upon, here you will see this is 100, this is 180. If we divide with 20 here, you will find this is 20 5za and this is 20 9za. So temperature at degree Celsius upon 5 must be equal to degree Fahrenheit minus 32 upon 9. So this would be the relation between the degree Celsius and Fahrenheit. That means this formula can be used here to convert the degree Celsius into Fahrenheit or the Fahrenheit into the degree Celsius. Next we will see from the last two relation, that is the relation between the Fahrenheit and the Kelvin. We found that Tf minus 32 upon 180 is equal to Tk minus 273 Kelvin upon 100. Here Tf is the temperature in Fahrenheit and Tk is the temperature in Kelvin. So when you simplify it more, it will come the temperature in Fahrenheit minus 32 degree Fahrenheit upon 9 is equal to the temperature at Kelvin minus 273 Kelvin upon 5. This relation can be used to convert the Fahrenheit temperature into the Kelvin temperature or the Kelvin temperature into the Fahrenheit temperature. Now if we see the first and last relation, that means the relation between the degree Celsius and the Kelvin. So here we'll write Tc minus 0 degree Celsius upon 100 equal to Tk minus 273 upon 100. So here you will find Tc is the temperature measured in degree Celsius, Tk is the temperature measured in Kelvin. So the 100 would be cancelled. Here you will find the temperature at degree Celsius must be equal to the temperature at Kelvin minus 273. That means the temperature at Kelvin must be equal to the temperature in degree Celsius plus 273, and this relation can be used to convert the temperature from the degree Celsius to the Kelvin or from Kelvin to the degree Celsius. So this way we have compared between the Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale and the Kelvin scale.